You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and I have to start by recapping yesterday's MLB games, specifically Rays-Astros. I really thought the Rays were gonna win yesterday. Both teams were going with a bullpen game. The Rays have a much better bullpen than the Astros. It's not even close. And they had all their big guns available. But one thing that we learned from yesterday is that when both teams are going with a bullpen game, all bets are off. It's impossible to really predict what's going to happen. There are too many variables. All you need is one pitcher not being on his game, and it throws the whole thing out of whack. And you know what? Both teams had multiple pitchers not functioning at the level that we all know they're capable of functioning at. John Curtis, the first batter he faces, George Springer, leadoff home run. Blake Taylor didn't look good. Enoli Paredes didn't look good. Josh James didn't look good. Although, in all fairness to James, he left with an injury. I don't know how much that injury was bothering him before he threw his first pitch. Let me tell you, it used to be that you played through your injuries. Now I think that's changed. You need to be open with your injuries and say, hey, coach, this is how I feel. I don't think I can function at the level that the team needs. Now, there are some times where you need to play through pain, or the pain is bearable. And it's a fine line. You have to know your body well enough to know when you can push through it and when you can't. I'm not blaming James for going out there. The Astros got the win. But let that be a lesson to every athlete listening right now. Be open about your injuries and know your body. And Nick Anderson giving up the big home run to Carlos Correa. Again, bullpen game. Anything can happen. I know what people are going to say. Well, if a true starter had started, would Anderson have still given up that home run? Probably yes. But he probably wouldn't have been out there in the 8th inning. Cash probably would have managed that game a little differently. I mean, we'll never know. But now, I'll tell you, the Rays are in a little bit of trouble here. I understand they have Blake Snell going tonight against Framber Valdez. Edge Rays in that matchup. But you don't want to let the Astros back in this series. The Astros are right back in it. They've won back-to-back 4-3 games. They've proven that they can hit your big guns. They hit Glasnow. They hit Anderson. What's to stop them from hitting Snell? On paper, do the Rays have a great chance of winning tonight? Yes. I'll get into the pitching matchup a little later, but there's a reason that the Rays are minus 140 on the money line. But they're on the precipice of pulling an 0-4 Yankees. I mean, make no mistake about it, the Rays really aren't playing great right now. Throughout this whole series, they really haven't gotten it done offensively. The most runs they've scored in a game in this series is 5. Now, that's not nothing, but it's not, incredibly impressive. I mean, go back to all the missed opportunities that the Rays had yesterday. Bases loaded, 2 out in the second. Mike Zunino flies out. Runners on first and second, 1 out in the fourth. Willy Adames and Mike Zunino strike out. In the fifth inning, runners on first and second, 2 out. Manuel Margot grounds out. Really nice play by Alex Bregman there. Even in the ninth inning, Mike Zunino gets a hit. Kevin Kiermaier pinch runs for him. The Rays can't move him over. They couldn't move him over 90 feet. The Rays left 9 guys on base yesterday. That's not going to get the job done. That's why I say, even if you have great pitching, you still need an offense capable of backing them up. Pitching is half the battle, but you can't expect to win 1,000,000 1-0 games. You've got to be able to win those 7-6 games or 8-7 games. The Rays aren't doing that here. Brandon Lau has been invisible this series. I understand he had a home run yesterday, but for the most part this series, he's been dreadful. Who are the only guys who are hitting for the Rays in this series? Arozarena, Choi, and Zunino. That's it. Not Margot, not Kiermaier, not Diaz, Renfroe, Wendell, Meadows, Adames, the hero of the Yankees series, Mike Brasso. None of them are hitting. The Rays as a team in this series are hitting 200. They have a 285 on base percentage. If the Rays bats don't wake up, it doesn't matter that Blake Snell is pitching tonight. And if it gets to a Game 7, Charlie Morton's probably going to start that game for him. They will join the 0-4 Yankees in that illustrious club of baseball teams to blow a 3-0 series lead. It is not out of the realm of possibility. Speaking of epic choke jobs, that's what Clayton Kershaw pulled off yesterday. Doesn't get out of the 6th inning, gives up 7 hits, 4 runs. He made me look like an idiot. I said yesterday that you wanted Kershaw starting this game. Clayton Kershaw versus Bryce Wilson. Without knowing what happened yesterday, who do you think is going to win that matchup? The Dodgers. I mean, they have an incredible Game 3. If they can win yesterday, the series turns into a best 2 out of 3, and anything can happen. Instead, Kershaw implodes. Dave Roberts got some heat for leaving Kershaw in as long as he did. No. The Dodgers bullpen has been anemic this series. In fact, the whole playoffs, they've been dreadful. You want Kershaw in there. He's your ace. He's your guy. He's the future Hall of Famer. not Gratterall, not Gonzalez, not Floro, not McGee, no one. Clayton Kershaw. He has to be the guy in there to try to get out of the 6th inning. Instead, he folded like a cheap suit. Another playoff game where Kershaw lays an egg. You know what Clayton Kershaw's record is in the playoffs? 11-12 with a 4.31 ERA. To give you a point of comparison, his 162 game regular season average is 17-7 with a 2.43 ERA. This guy has 3 Cy Young Awards. He has an MVP, 5 ERA titles. But for whatever reason, once the lights are on bright, he can't get it done. I mean, it would take too much time for me to go through all the times that Clayton Kershaw laid an egg in the postseason. But this guy is Don Newcomb. This guy is George Frazier. This guy just cannot get it done in the playoffs. I mean, what do you do if you're the Dodgers? You have all this money invested in Kershaw. He can't get it done in the playoffs. You have to stop giving him the freaking ball. Can you win with this guy? Can you win a World Series with Clayton Kershaw? I don't know if you can. At the very least, you can't win a World Series with Kershaw playing a pivotal role. I'll go back to Newcomb. He obviously won a World Series in 55. You know, he only started Game 1 in that World Series against the Yankees. He got the loss, but that was it. Newcomb didn't start another game because Walter Alston knew that this guy just didn't have the clutch gene. In Game 6 of that World Series, the Dodgers have an opportunity to win it right there. The Yankees have Whitey Ford on the mound. You'd think the Dodgers would counter with Newcomb, right? He'd be on regular rest. Nope. Carl Spooner started that game. In Game 7, Johnny Padres started on short rest. The Padres' decision was a stroke of genius. Spooner laid an egg. But the point is, Alston knew he couldn't give the ball to a guy in Newcomb who just wasn't going to get the job done. Kershaw needs to stop getting the ball in these high leverage spots. When there's minimal pressure on Kershaw in the playoffs, he can pitch well. But when you really need to count on him, you can't do it. Now the Dodgers are down 3-1 because of him. Not Roberts, not Gratterall, no one but Kershaw. There are some Yankees fans that want Aroldis Chapman off the team because he can't get it done in the playoffs. Hey, I get it. And I'll even take it a step further. Clayton Kershaw can't get it done in the playoffs. Why do the Dodgers keep trotting him out? It's been over 30 years since the Dodgers have won a World Series. They've been there right at the doorstep numerous times. They've had great teams. They just can't get the job done. Dave Roberts will probably be let go if the Dodgers don't win this year. Look, it's the right decision, but at the end of the day, you need to have a serious conversation about what you're going to do with Kershaw going forward. This guy is injury prone. This guy cannot get it done in the playoffs. He's a future Hall of Famer. one of the best pitchers in Dodgers history. But if you don't have that clutch gene, I really don't want you. But I gotta talk about the Braves and what they were able to do. Bryce Wilson, a guy who hasn't pitched since September 27th. A guy who hasn't thrown more than 5 innings all season, comes in and pitches 6 innings of 1-run baseball. He only made 1 bad pitch to Edwin Rios. That was it. Wilson was insane after that. Did a great job of nibbling at the corners. Had his fastball working. Mixed in his off-speed stuff really well. I actually thought he should have gone a little further. He was pulled after 74 pitches. Let him go more. I mean, I understand why Snitker pulled him. Wilson had to wait a long time before he went back out there. The Braves scored 6 runs in the 6th inning. Right there. You knew it was over. The Dodgers weren't going to come back from that. They weren't going to pull a Game 2 again. But Wilson was fantastic. It's amazing how the Braves are able to keep trotting out these young pitchers that are able to show up when the lights are on bright. Meanwhile, the high-priced Clayton Kershaw keeps laying an egg. The Braves have this series in the bag. The Dodgers are not going to win 3 straight. They have not had a good series. Like I said, Dave Roberts is probably going to go. And I'm telling you, you really need to consider what you're going to do with Clayton Kershaw going forward. If he can't get it done in the playoffs, and he's signed to that contract, he's a liability. He's an injury-prone detriment to your team. Alright, now it's time to preview tonight's Astros-Rays game. Like I said, Framber Valdez versus Blake Snell. Valdez is a weird pitcher. Sorta kinda similar to Tyler Glasnow. He'll really only throw 2 pitches. He'll have a sinker that he can put wherever he wants. And he has a curveball with incredible movement. Max Fried-like movement. If a righty can hit it, he's usually hitting it into the ground. And a lefty is usually left flailing at it. He had a good year this year, went 5-3 with a 3.57 ERA. I like Valdez. I think he's a good pitcher. But like I said, the Rays have the edge in this matchup. Blake Snell is the perfect guy to start this game for the Rays. He is their best pitcher. Likes to throw his fastball high. And it's a fastball that usually tops out at like 95, 96. But he has 3 great off-speed pitches. His changeup is lethal against righties. It locks him up like crazy. His curveball falls through the zone and he gets hitters swinging at 58-foot pitches. His slider locks up righties. If they hit it, which I wish him luck, it's getting pounded into the dirt. Snell's an incredible talent. I remember where I was when he made his first start. His first start was against the Yankees. I was in a card show in New Jersey. I was following the game on my phone. And I said to my dad, man, I'll tell you, I don't want to have to face this guy a bunch of times each season. And you know what? I was proven right. One of the best pitchers in baseball, by far, not even close. I do think the Rays are going to win tonight. I really, really do. Moving on now to Dodgers-Braves. The Braves have not announced a starter, whereas the Dodgers are going to go with Dustin May, a guy who's been coming out of the bullpen for Dave Roberts in these playoffs and has done really well. But May is more than capable of going multiple innings. He can give the Dodgers 6 innings very easily. He has a sinker that he likes to throw inside to righties. He has a cutter that he likes to paint the outside part of the zone with. A curve that he throws for balls usually, but it's a great setup pitch. And sometimes he'll get hitters to chase it. I like May a lot. I think he's a really good pitcher. It's going to be interesting to see how much rope Roberts gives him, because he really hasn't been stretched out in these playoffs. He can't have too quick of a hook. Give May time to work out of it. I said it before, I'll say it again. The Dodgers bullpen is dreadful. Moving on now to another LA team, specifically the Clippers. They hired Tyronn Lue as their head coach. He was an assistant there, and now he has the head job. And he brought Chauncey Billups with him to be his lead assistant. This is a great fit for the Clippers. Players love playing for Lue. He gets the most out of them. He won a title with the Cavs in 2016. He knows these guys inside and out because he was an assistant there. The Clippers couldn't have done much better than hiring Ty Lue to be their next head coach. And bringing in Chauncey Billups as his lead assistant. This is a guy who's wanted to get into either coaching or the front office side of things for a while. And now he gets a chance to be Ty Lue's lead assistant with the Clippers, a team that's an instant title contender. If you're Billups, you couldn't ask for a better opportunity. And Larry Drew may come over also. Hey, whenever you can add a former head coach to your staff as an assistant coach, that's a great move. The Clippers hit a home run here. Doc Rivers is not a good playoff coach. Ty Lue is. Lue was signed to a 5-year deal. And I think it makes perfect sense because you want this guy long term. I think he's one of the better coaches in the NBA, head coach or otherwise. I think this is a perfect move for the Clippers. Moving on now to Le'Veon Bell signing with the Chiefs. Because, of course, the Chiefs needed to improve on offense. Mahomes wasn't enough. Edwards-Helaire wasn't enough. Hill wasn't enough. Kelsey wasn't enough. Schwartz wasn't enough. Fisher wasn't enough. They had to add Le'Veon Bell. My buddy Nick actually isn't crazy about this move. The reason being that he doesn't want Bell to take opportunities away from Edwards-Helaire. And that is a fair concern. Because Edwards-Helaire looks like a stud. He's in the perfect offense for his skill set. You don't want his development hindered. But, let's say, and knock on wood, that something happens to Edwards-Helaire. The Chiefs' backup running backs were Darrell Williams and Darwin Thompson. Le'Veon Bell is a million times better than them. Now, I don't know how Andy Reid plans on using Bell. If he's going to be a 1B to Edwards-Helaire's 1A, or if he's going to be a true number 2. I would probably lean towards the latter if I was Reid. I mean, you have to realize, Bell did nothing with the Jets. We can argue all day about how much Adam Gase was responsible for that, but I think it's painfully obvious that Le'Veon Bell is not the same running back anymore that he was in Pittsburgh. He just doesn't have that same explosiveness. You watch Bell now versus the Bell of old, it's like you're watching two different players. I understand that Andy Reid will get the most out of Bell, and it wouldn't surprise me if Bell turned into a really good player with the Chiefs. Andy Reid is an offensive genius. Like I said, if anyone can get Bell's head screwed on straight, it's Reid. And how's this for a storyline? Bell can't play on Sunday because he has to go through the COVID protocols. So assuming he passes them with flying colors, he'll join the Chiefs during Week 7. Week 8, the Chiefs face the Jets. I'm saying it right now. Le'Veon Bell will rush for 3 touchdowns in that game. The Chiefs are going to win by 50. Patrick Mahomes will be pulled in the third quarter because it will be so obvious that the Chiefs are going to destroy the Jets. Nick said it could be a trap game. Nick, I admire the effort to give me some hope, but come on. The Jets are gonna get creamed. I mean, come on. It's gonna be a horror show. I mean, come on. Oh. You gotta love it. But now it's time for me to make my 3 NFL picks. I went 3-0 last week, so I'm 9-6 right now. I'm feeling really good about myself. Let's see if I can keep the win streak up. I like the Titans minus 3.5 against the Texans. I understand that the Texans look a million times better without Bill O'Brien. But look, it's just one game. The Titans are a great team. They just creamed the Bills. They dropped 42 against them. The Bills have a really good defense. Tannehill has been great. Derrick Henry is a beast. I think the Titans are the much better team. Give me the Titans minus 3.5. And as crazy as this is going to sound, I need an upset. I'm not saying that the Jets are going to win this game, but I think they can cover the 9-point spread. Give me the Jets plus 9. The Dolphins do not scare me. Ryan Fitzpatrick does not scare me. Myles Gaskin does not scare me. The Dolphins' defense does not scare me. Now, the Dolphins do have some good pass catchers. Mike Gesicki is one of the better tight ends in the NFL. Devontae Parker's really good. Preston Williams is really good. Isaiah Ford is solid. The Dolphins are going to win this game. But I think the Jets can cover +9. Flacco wasn't awful last week. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible. I'm excited to see what LaMichael Pirine can do in a more expanded role. I do think you'll see him more. Maybe he won't get the majority of the carries, but I think he'll certainly get his. And I think he'll do a solid job with those carries. Jamison Crowder had a really good game last week. Brashad Perryman could come back this week. I think the Jets can cover this 9-point spread. I really, really do. And I have a pick for one of the Monday night games. I like the Cardinals -1 over the Cowboys. I can't pick the Cowboys to win with Andy Dalton at quarterback. And I think Kyler Murray is going to have a field day against this Cowboys defense. This dreadful Cowboys defense. No Sean Lee, no Chidobe Awuzie, no Randy Gregory, no Tristan Hill. Mike Nolan has done a terrible job in Dallas. A 1-point spread is basically a pick'em. I think the Cardinals are going to win this game. Give me the Cardinals -1. There are a couple hockey stories to talk about. And the first one concerns Evgeny Dadonov signing a pretty big deal with the Senators. 3 years at $15 million. This is a great move for the Senators. Dadonov, when he first came up in the NHL, really didn't do that well. He went to the KHL, corrected what needed to be corrected, went back to the Panthers, and in the last 3 seasons, he's never scored less than 25 goals. Before that, he had back-to-back 28-goal seasons. He had 25 goals last year. I think it's a fair bet to say that if Dadonov had played 82 games, he would have scored 3 more goals. Let me tell you, the Senators are making a legitimate run at respectability. Trading for Josh Brown, trading for Eric Goodbranson, making the big trade for Matt Murray, and then locking him up long term. Now signing Dadonov? I don't care who's centering him and Brady Tkachuk. That line is gonna produce. Look, the Senators aren't a Stanley Cup threat by any stretch of the imagination. That goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. And it would surprise me if they made the playoffs next year. But this is a team that has had 3 straight seasons where they haven't won 30 games. They want to change that. Signing Dadonov will go a long way towards changing that. They have a good coach in DJ Smith. Smart guy, has a good reputation. I think the Senators will be respectable next year. I really do. Moving on now to the Rangers re-signing Anthony DeAngelo. He didn't get a huge long-term deal. He got a bridge deal. That's not what he was looking for in a perfect world, but hey, with this AAV, he'll take it. He got a 2-year deal worth $9.6 million. That's $4.8 million a year. That's a little too rich for my blood. I like DeAngelo. He's a good defenseman with a great offensive game. He is an offensive defenseman. There's no question about that. But this guy really only has the one really good season under his belt. I understand 2 years ago, 30 points in 61 games. That's solid. I wouldn't say really good. Last year he was really good. 53 points in 68 games. He had 15 goals. He actually finished 12th in Norris Trophy voting. And he's a big part of their youth movement. He's probably the best defenseman they have. I get that. But $4.8 million a year? I understand it's only for 2 years, but that's an overpay. That's a big overpay. 3.5 would have been my max. This won't hamstring the Rangers or anything, but it sets a bad precedent. They're going to have to pay DeAngelo a lot of money when this contract is up. He better keep producing at this clip. I'll tell you that. Moving on now to the Flames locking up Andrew Mangiapane for 2 years at an AAV of $2.425 million. That's $4.85 million total. And this is a good move for the Flames. Mangiapane looked good in the playoffs, had 5 points in 10 games. In the regular season this year, 32 points in 68 games. He's a really good goal scorer. Really, really good defensive game. I think he's going to turn into a really good two-way forward in this league. He's a solid second liner right now, and he's going to keep getting better and better. This is a really good move for the Flames. I have to preview Georgia, Alabama. By far the best college football game that we've gotten this year. I haven't talked as much college football as I would have liked to, but the NHL and NBA seasons ran long. So, them's the breaks. But now, since we're in their off seasons, and Major League Baseball is winding down, you're going to get a lot more college football content. And I couldn't be happier. The 3-seeded Bulldogs versus the 2-seeded Crimson Tide. Whoever wins this game is probably going to the CFP. And whoever loses this game will probably see their national title dreams go up in smoke. Georgia lost Jake Fromm to the NFL draft, but they haven't missed a beat. Stetson Bennett has come in and put together a really good season. He's completed 63% of his passes. He's thrown for just under 700 yards in these 3 games that Georgia's played. He's thrown 5 touchdowns and no interceptions. He's having a really good season, but much like the Georgia teams of old, this is a run-first team. That's what Kirby Smart likes to do. Zamir White is putting together a great season. Didn't get a chance to strut his stuff last year because he was playing behind DeAndre Swift and Brian Herrien. But now that he's at the top of the depth chart, we can see that this kid is really special. He's averaging 4 yards a carry. He has 4 touchdowns through these 3 games. He's not a great receiving back, but he can get it done with his legs. That's what Kirby Smart wants. And if they need to air it out, Kyrus Jackson has had a really good season. 19 catches for 300 yards. Only 1 touchdown, which I don't like. But that's not the end of the world. Jackson is having a really good season. The Bulldogs' defense is where they're really making their mark, though. This team reminds me a lot of, realistically, the 2010 Jets. I know that's a weird comparison, but that team was a ground and pound team. They really didn't air the ball out a lot. They only did it when they had to. They like to run the ball down your throat and kill you defensively. That's what this team does. They have some great defensive players. Azeez Ojolari, Adam Anderson, Channing Tindall, Richard LeCount, Eric Stokes. These are some great defensive players, some of the best defensive players in the nation. And they have killed opposing teams this year. The Bulldogs have only allowed 12.3 points per game. That's the 5th best mark in the nation. But they're going to have their hands full with the best offense in the nation. Mac Jones is having an incredible season. This guy has completed 79.5% of his passes. You know how many yards he's thrown for? You'd think with that type of a completion percentage, he'd be throwing just short passes. No, he's airing it out. He's already thrown for over 1,100 yards. We're 3 games into the season. He's averaging 13.3 passing yards per attempt. He has 8 touchdowns to 1 interception. What he's doing with Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, and John Mechie is insane. This is a fantastic Crimson Tide offense. And their running game is insane. Najee Harris returned for his senior year. Again, 3 games into the season, he's already ran for 10 touchdowns. He is averaging 6.7 yards per carry. Brian Robinson Jr. isn't that far behind him at 6.4 yards per carry. Defensively, the Crimson Tide aren't great, but they still have some good players. Christian Harris, Josh Jobe, Daniel Wright, Malachi Moore. They're a solid defensive team. They're not a great defensive team. But the big story with Alabama is Nick Saban. He does have the coronavirus. He will not be on the sidelines tomorrow. Steve Sarkisian will be their quote-unquote head coach for that game. And going forward until Saban recovers. You'd think that would lead me towards picking Georgia, but I'm actually going to go the other way with it. I think Alabama is going to be motivated to play for their head coach. It's in Tuscaloosa. Even though Georgia has a great defense, they won't be able to shut down this fantastic Alabama offense. Roll Tide, baby. I do want to talk about another football death that happened on Wednesday. it was announced yesterday that Ken Rice died at the age of 81. It's okay if you don't know the name Ken Rice. Played a long time ago, mid-50s to mid-60s. But there was a time when Ken Rice was a really good offensive lineman. He went to Auburn and dominated for the Tigers. In 1957, he made the freshman All-SEC team. From 1958 to 1960, he made All-SEC. From 1959 to 1960, he was an All-American and was named the SEC's most valuable offensive lineman. Also in 1960, he was named the SEC's most valuable defensive lineman. Yeah, he was a two-way player, and a great one at that. Auburn was good when Rice was there, but not great. He never played in a bowl game, but Rice was good enough to be a first-round pick in 1961 in both the NFL and AFL drafts. He went 8th overall in the NFL draft and 1st overall in the AFL draft. He went to the AFL as a member of the Buffalo Bills. In his rookie season, Rice made his only AFL All-Star game, and he was named a second-team All-AFL offensive lineman. He missed the 1962 season with an injury, and when he came back, he was still good, but he wasn't great. To give you a point of reference, his approximate value, according to Pro Football Reference, in his rookie season was 9. In 63, it was 6. Then he was traded to the Raiders, and it was 7, and then the year after that, it was 6. But Ken Rice was a good offensive lineman in the AFL, a great offensive lineman for Auburn. In 1992, he was elected to Auburn's Team of the Century, and the Ken Rice Award is given every year to the best offensive lineman that Auburn has. He deserved both honors. May he rest in peace. New York Jets recap coming your way on Sunday and after every game of theirs. Regular episodes of the Jacob Valk Show come your way every weekday afternoon. Until next time, I am Jacob Valk saying, McCovey swings and misses, and it's fouled back.